Hey everybody, welcome to Office Hours. This is our Tuesday focus, and today our focus is Blackmagic Design's massively popular mini switchers and live streaming tools, and we have an amazing panel of experts to answer your questions. We also have something very special that we're going to do a little bit later, a Office Hours Tuesday Focus prize giveaway. This is the first time we've done that. It is courtesy of Blackmagic Design, and you're going to want to keep your ears tuned for that in just a little bit. I'll give you the details after I quickly touch base with our amazing panel today. I'm going to start with Guy Cochran because Guy helped get this all off the ground. He is the organizing force behind the show, and he's probably number one on my list of people I call when I need to make sure that anything I'm doing live has to just work. So hello, Guy. Good to see you.
Greetings from Seattle. I'm honored to be here with all these fancy, fine folks. Once you go around the horn, people are going to be in love with what we've assembled tonight, and this is going to be amazing. You guys, thanks for tuning in. This is just really a special event.
We do have a fancy panel. Up next, Adam Tao, former lead software development engineer at Zoom. Adam is the force behind the incredible Mix Effects software. You're going to be taking a look at that. We've got a little demo later. So, Adam, welcome.
Other great guests.
Moving along, Aaron Parecki is up here, YouTuber with a deep knowledge about live streaming. Aaron is all over YouTube with seriously useful ATEM tutorials and tips. Welcome, Aaron.
Thanks for having me. Looking forward to this. Always happy to chat about ATEMs and any kind of video production questions you might have.
Next up, Chuck Wojak in Dolores, Colorado. He's in broadcast production technology and a media professional who's been helping folks bridge that transition between broadcast and the new live streaming for a long time. Chuck, welcome.
Thank you for having me. So happy to be here. Thank you to Guy for reaching out. Excited to talk about some new developments in ATEM.
Absolutely. Noah Sargent's up next from Los Angeles from Corporate Streams. He's an old friend of the show. He's been around a long time. Noah, welcome.
Hey, Bill. Hey, everybody. Great to see you. Welcome and excited about the show.
Great to have you back on a panel here. Next up, Ryan Summerfield in Chattanooga, Tennessee, streaming expert, recently relocated from Australia to the U.S. and now at Socially You. Good morning or afternoon or evening, wherever you are, Ryan.
Good evening. It's so good to be here. Thanks for having me on the show. It's been a little while. Normally, I've been jumping on extra hours a little bit, but it's great to be here and great to be with this awesome panel.
We're awesome. We're incredibly happy to have you, as we are with Muddy Schlegel, the digital creator out of Raleigh, North Carolina, founder of the Whiteboard Academy, among other things. Muddy, hello.
Hey, it's me, Muddy. What a joy to be here with you, Bill, and with all these panelists. Really looking forward to our show tonight. Thanks for having me.
Same to you. Thank you for being here. Omar Gadan is up next, chief problem solver at Alane Media, where he does commercials, live sports, and the panelist who probably knows more about getting sand out of gear than anyone else we know due to his very popular YouTube surfing show. How are you, Omar?
Such a powerhouse panel, and a ton of these guys have helped me directly and also through their videos. So I'm excited to be here amongst them.
Jeff Francis is up next, another Office Hours regular who's also a faculty professor at the University of North Carolina School of Music. Jeff's a longtime Office Hours attendee and expert in all things music related. Jeff, good to see you.
Great to be here, but I do have to point out it's the South Carolina.
Oh, is it South Carolina? Did I get that? Well, okay.
Yeah.
Now I get to check off my first major error of the show. I can relax now. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's the only one. So great to be here.
It's great to have you here. Okay, so we have a lot of things to do tonight. It's a huge panel. We've got so much expertise that if you have any questions about anything having to do with ATEM switches, you're in exactly the right place. But I have to tell you, that's not all we're doing. For those of you who are not regulars in our Office Hours system, let me just explain a little bit about that. We've been doing shows, well over 2,000 daily shows, and one of the things we're known for is our Q&A systems, where you actually get to live query the experts we bring onto the show. So we are going to be doing that tonight. We're using our same Mukana format, and I know some of you who are maybe coming in off the YouTube system aren't used to that, so I'll just tell you a few things about it. That process we use a lot because you can people can vote up or down the questions that come in. So for people who are used to Office Hours and are in Mukana, that system is in play tonight. When you see the questions being put up on screen, they are coming in and being screened through that Mukana system. But tonight we are using two pathways. That And we're also using YouTube chat. And it's particularly important tonight because we've got some things that are very special happening this evening. We are going to be doing a little giveaway tonight. And I say a little giveaway because it definitely is. Back when Guy first mentioned the show, and he was talking to some of his contacts at Blackmagic Designs, and they responded with, well, you know, hey, do you want a door prize to give away? And I thought they would have been talking like T-shirts or keychains. Oh no, they were talking about a Blackmagic ATEM Mini ISO G2 switcher. And that is right, we are giving away tonight a G2 switcher courtesy of Blackmagic Design. And so we're going to kind of put together a way that you can put your name in to win it live tonight. And at the end of the show, we're going to be giving it away. All you need to do is enter the code that I'm about to give you in the YouTube chat. And I wanted to bring that up early because if you're in Mukana, our regular system, I'm going to direct you over to go to the YouTube system and get in the chat over there just for the entry, just for tonight. It's very important to do that because we have to comply with a whole bunch of restrictions about how we can do this. But if you go over there, during the show, I'm going to give you a series of letters, and basically, when I tell you go, and I'm going to do that in just a few minutes, type this into the chat in YouTube. Again, you're going to have plenty of time. You don't have to do it right now, and nobody cares who gets in first, second, or third. They're all going to be randomized, and then we're going to draw at the end of the show. So, it's a process where our back-end volunteers are going to go through it after everybody puts in this code. They're going to dedupe it, so there's no reason to put in 35 entries to think that's going to increase your chances. It's not going to. And then at the top of the next hour, we're going to bring up the table of viewers. It's going to randomly go through and pick a live winner, and everybody gets to see who wins live. The person whose name is drawn will have 2 minutes to post in the chat that they are the winner. We have to do this to kind of keep on the right side of the way we're supposed to do this. You'll have 2 minutes to claim your winner status in chat, and that's kind of the must be present to win part. So if you decide that this is the perfect time to walk the dog, we're going to probably go through those 2 minutes and we're going to have to draw again. So just understand that at the end of the first hour, when we're doing the drawing, you do want to be where you are. Once you're verified, and we're going to verify you through this process, we'll take your details, and then Blackmagic will ship the prize directly to you. I'll be talking more about this right before the actual drawing, so you don't have to remember what I'm saying right now. But just remember that when we pull the names, if you're the lucky person, you got 2 minutes before we draw somebody else. The code for that, go to our YouTube chat and type in the following: My ATEM, the letters MYATEM. I'm going to suggest you put it in all caps. You don't have to. No matter how you put it in, it's going to work. But if you put in My ATEM, MYATEM, our back-end crew are going to be filtering those. They're going to be pulling everybody who types that into the chat. And that's your entry into the drawing. So good luck. Okay, now that all the business is taken care of, we can get on with the regular show. And so we have an incredible team of experts tonight. And what I want to make sure to do is kind of go through and give you a little intro to everybody who's here tonight, a little bit more background than we got when we were first doing that. And I have to start with Guy, because Guy kind of came up with the idea of doing this. Guy, some of you may not be aware, runs a 60,000 plus subscriber Facebook group dedicated to the ATEM Mini switchers. So Guy, how did you come up with the idea of that group?
It was kind of a happy little accident. I'd watched some of the other folks in different communities, like the vMix community, really take off, and they've been super helpful. So I figured out, hey, why don't we have one on the Blackmagic ATEMs, because we're getting a bunch of questions. And I used to run a store that was super popular with the ATEMs. We were selling tons of them. So I was like, let's just direct people over here so everybody could see the answer to that question and not just have to call in and email in and only get one-on-one. So it started out super small and it grew super big thanks to folks like Chuck Wojak, who's also on the panel, that's a fellow admin, and he's really helped sort through the madness, because with 60, we had to approve all those guys. Well, we got sophisticated later with automation, but almost all those are by hand. So it's a lot of touches.
That's the early days. I remember that from all of the users group stuff that I've done. In the early days, it's more manpower than automation. And so I'm going to go through everybody and give everybody a little chance to kind of talk a little bit about themselves here. Normally, I would have started like I did earlier with Adam, but Adam's going to do a demo later tonight of his software. So I'm going to slip ahead to Aaron Parecki. Aaron, you do a ton of YouTube content. Tell us a little bit about what you're up to these days.
Yeah, well, my channel really took off specifically because of the ATEM Mini. I saw when that launched back in 2019 or so, I was like, I know exactly what Blackmagic is doing with this, and it is so smart. Made a bunch of videos about it, helping people get started with it and spin up on like the basics, and it worked. People ate up the content, and I've just been rolling from there, continuing to make content about, I've broadened into other switchers as more products have come along, but really my goal is just to help people get started in streaming and using these kind of, small-ish switchers with their productions.
Yeah, so if you're on YouTube and you see tutorials about the Blackmagic stuff and Aaron's name is on that, that's something you definitely should put higher on your list of get to first. Let's go along to Chuck Wojak from the broadcast side. You and I were around long enough ago when broadcast was kind of the big gorilla. Now everybody is doing streaming and it's kind of the landscape has changed. But tell us a little bit about what you're doing these days, Chuck.
Yeah, so I've continued to grow in the entrepreneurial live streaming space. So more like broadcasting, but mostly for personal development work. And I work with a couple of different entrepreneurs, helping them build their studios. And we've grown from starting with the ATEM Mini Extremes and using those to now where I have two ATEM 2Mes and one ATEM 4Me constellation, using a lot of companion and a lot of mix effects. Thank you, Adam. To automate some of that stuff. But I also teach some smaller entrepreneurs on how to do it. And I also, as Guy said, I help manage one of the ATEM Mini user groups. So there's just a lot of ATEM everywhere. And even though I don't do in-person more broadcasting and a lot less of the in-person corporate shows in ballrooms than I used to, there's still a place for the ATEM and it's there. And I know that there are people who prefer the bigger switchers, the Ross and some of the others, but you can do so much. Talking about where we came from, Bill, what you can do with one of these small sub $1,200 devices is absolutely amazing from where we used to have big, massive blades of rack equipment and switchers to accomplish this stuff. And it's just amazing to see what they've been doing at Blackmagic and how much it's been advancing. And I'm excited to see some of the others who've come out with extra workarounds that they've come up with because of what Blackmagic has done.
Those of you who are in the Mukana system or want to go through YouTube and make sure that you can ask questions to our august panel, let me toss up on the screen the QR code that we use for office hours. If you scan that with your phone or simply type in askofficehours.global, that'll take you into the Q&A process. The folks in the back of the system will look at it and try to form it as a clear to read question, because I think Guy Cochran's going to be our reader today and is going to read the questions out when we get to the Q&A portion of the show. So use that to get your questions in, and you will never have a better chance to get 100% accurate, awesome ATEM advice than you will with this amazing panel. Let me pull that off the screen. And Jeff Francis, our old friend on Office Hours, how are you today? And how are things in the music side of the University of South Carolina?
They're great. And somehow I fell into being a live stream in the classical music world, and so live stream and then edit from the ISO.
Yeah, and I've heard some of Jeff's work, and you haven't lived until you've heard one of the string quartet kind of recordings that he does. Classical musicians have pretty particular ears, and so this isn't toss up a couple of SM58s and go with it. These are very highly trained musicians, and Jeff has an amazing system for recording them the way they want to be recorded. So. Let's move along. Muddy Schlegel, a digital creator out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Muddy, what are you up to these days?
Well, one of the things I learned from Alex Lindsay was the way that you show up online establishes your credibility. And so I absolutely love helping level up Chuck was talking about entrepreneurs working with virtual events. And so I've been producing virtual events and building home studios for entrepreneurs and those in the personal and professional growth arenas. And as a result, I've had a chance to install a lot of ATEM devices in studios, and most of those have been smaller because they're individual kind of home studios, although I've started to build a couple of larger studios for clients that have enough devices that it makes sense to move to a Constellation 2ME to make sure I'm getting some of the benefits of SuperSource and things like that, but without having to have both a router video hub plus an ATEM, because some of those larger devices kind of combine some of the special powers of both of those. So that's what I'm up to.
Most of us started with these little ones, and then the next thing you know, we're looking at maybe the next step up or something like that. But that QR code that was on the screen went through my little ATEM, a simple little downstream key, and out to the web. And so having that on your desktop really does extend what you can do in all of your live to the web kind of work. So I think that's part of the reason these have become so ridiculously popular these days. I want to remind you that for those of you who are watching, if you type this into the chat on YouTube, you will automatically be entered into the drawing for the ATEM switcher that we're going to be holding at the end of the show. I just want to do this a couple of times through there, so just in case somebody are coming in late, they get a chance to compete equally with everybody else. As I mentioned, they're deduping and everything, so there's no reason to put in 150 entries. It's not going to do you any good. But everybody's entry will be honored. Get in there, and then we'll auto pull it at the end of there. I'm going to switch to Omar Gadan now. And when I was reading the bios and things like that, you kept getting me thinking about the fact that you have this amazing surfing practice. And oh my God, the number of times that I've had to shoot on the beach and I've had to spend a week and a half trying to get the sand out of my equipment after I come back. I just think you're my hero for doing that constantly. Talk to us a little bit about what you do.
Sure. I have a small production company here in Orange County, California. And as you mentioned, we have a fairly popular surf show. My business partner, he's well ingrained inside the surf industry. And 2.5 years ago or so, we started streaming from the beach, and it kind of evolved from there. I can show you guys a little bit on what it looks like. So yeah. So this right here is our setup on the beach. Oops. This is the surf show right here, and we use a ATEM Mini SDI. ATEM Mini Extreme SDI version, and we also use a smaller ATEM Mini Pro. It's like a submix to get more things in there, but it's a pretty advanced show for what we do on the beach. We have just a table, we have a fly pack that we drag out there, and we do a pretty advanced show. It's just myself and a camera operator, and of course the host and the guests on the show. But we use some bonded internet, and we just pop up. And technically, we're a news show. That's how we're able to just kind of show up. We don't advertise our show. We just show up when the waves are big or the waves are good, and we report on what's happening in the water right then and there. And yeah, that's our show. And then this was kind of our launch pad to show people what we could do in terms of a small, compact setup. And then since we launched this show, some people took notice, and we started doing bigger shows. Now we do MMA and boxing, and we just did a world title fight for boxing. And yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Very cool.
Then I use ATEMs in all my productions, and I don't push them too hard, right? So I'll use vMix in a lot of places. I'll use vMix for my replay, vMix for my graphics. I'll do or some other application for my graphics. I'll do play out through another application as well, or some type of other program or interface. Records, I'll use the internal recordings on my ATEM, but I don't rely on them, right? I have HyperDecks for that, and each of my program and a backup for that. So I think if you really use them properly, they're very, very, very strong. And being able to go from an ATEM Mini, very compact, and have it be kind of the same workflow all the way up to the 4AMEs is really, really powerful, and it's allowed us to expand and get bigger.
Yeah, I think I was just about to go to Noah Sargent.
All of our stuff is battery backed up, and we have redundant systems across the board. So it's kind of cool to be able to roll in and go, and that's all ATEM based, which is my favorite part of it too. So.
It's like we're having some sort of network problem or
There's a
AWS problem.
huge spike in Zoom on down detector, so something's going on in Zoom.
Something's
So
happening with
we're
down
good.
detector. First place.
Yeah, people are-
Couldn't handle all the brain power of this august panel. Ryan, let's see, is Ryan back in? You were there. Can you hear me, Ryan?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. Good
Hello.
to see you. Tell us
Amazing.
what you've been doing.
So, yes, we have just moved our family from Australia to the US. We are in Chattanooga, Tennessee, and we're loving it so far. So, yeah, my background's in a bit of broadcast, film, all that kind of thing. I've got a YouTube channel, which I have been horrible at making content for, but hopefully now I have a bit more time to do so. But I've worked with basically every ATEM that has been released, both in testing and in anger as well. So, but I love to try and push the envelope as much as possible. Everything from like the ATEM Mini and seeing how we can do more things. But far too often we're filling up a constellation for me and need the plus to actually just, because yeah, I just got way too many inputs. So
we run the show based on Q&A. I mentioned before that you can put your questions into it using the QR code that I'm going to toss back up on the screen now in the corner of my inset shot. So if you scan that with your phone or something like that, you can get into the question queue. And Guy's going to read our first questions from the audience.
We got one in from Roscoe Jones in Madison, Indiana, and Roscoe asks, since button quality is important to live production, would anyone like to speak on old ATEM Mini versus G2 ATEM versus Stream Decks versus quality keyboards? Is switch debouncing code in use or needed in any of these?
We're going to toss this one to Chuck Wojak. Chuck, you have thoughts on this?
Well, I like buttons. I like buttons a lot. And I have to say, I'm one of those who is not a big fan of the original ATEM Mini buttons. And so because of that, whenever I use them, I tried to use Stream Decks. However, as I grew into the bigger ATEMs, I got the actual 1ME or 2ME control panels. And I was super excited when they announced the G2 with those buttons. However, buttons don't make the production. It is nice to be able to have that tactile feeling when you're selecting the buttons, but you can really do it with just a Stream Deck. In fact, part of what I do now is build Stream Deck loadouts for entrepreneurs who want to have their, similar to what Muddy does, so they want to have their workflow the way that they want it. And with Companion, combined with mix effects, you can do so much that you can't just do on the actual buttons on the device. I've had the unfortunate aspect of having to run a production in a ballroom from a constellation in the rack using the buttons on the constellation, and I don't recommend that at all. That is never any fun. But yeah, I think that there are some times when it is nice to have the better buttons, and I'm excited for the G2. I don't think they'll be changing the Mini necessarily, but other manufacturers are including those style of buttons on their switchers.
Why does that feel to me like installing a keyboard in a rack and then trying to play it in front of you? Not the best. Yeah. Jeff Francis, your thoughts?
I'm going to keep it quick because my answer is going to be very similar to Chuck's. Don't love the buttons on the original Mini. I haven't tried the G2 yet. Like the buttons, the switches on the the 1MEs and those kind of things, the consoles. But I use Stream Deck because I can customize it. I think the buttons on the Stream Deck, I know some will argue with me, but I love the feel of the buttons on the Stream Deck. I think they need a little bit extra push. So sometimes when I'm about to do something or I'm hitting the wrong button, a little bit of push doesn't make it actually execute. And I like that feature on there. And just to be able to have so much power in my hand, I put my ATEM in a rack. It sits somewhere close that if anything goes wrong with the Stream Deck, I can reach over and hit the actual switches on the switcher. But Stream Deck for me with Companion is the way.
Aaron Parecki, your thoughts?
Stop using the buttons and automate your show with other tools like Companion or Mix Effect or things like that. So every time I've started with the physical control buttons, I've very quickly moved away from them, not because of the button quality, just because of it's just more awkward to use them. So I'm a big fan of tools like companion mix effect and things that let you push multiple buttons all at with one go.
I can give a demo real quick, but I do want to talk about those keys because I actually have a G2 right here. I have the box right here, but it's actually sitting in front of me right now. And I have a Stream Deck, an ATEM Mini, Mini Pro, and the buttons definitely are better, at least for the input buttons on the G2. However, there's still all those other buttons, and they are a little mushy. Better than the ATEM Mini Pro, but they're not like those tactile buttons that you get on the the inputs 1 through 10. But like Aaron said, I use Stream Decks. I use I have Mix Effect for to touch interface, and I'm looking at ways to do automations without even touching anything. That's actually the ideal for me.
Well, hang on to your demo for just a second. Let me get Omar in because he raised his hand on this question too, and then I'm going to come right back to you for the demo. Omar, take it away.
Yeah, I'll just be very quick. And I agree with everybody here. The buttons are better on the new one, but I think the more important thing on the new G2 is there are far fewer buttons. And I think that's going to be a lot more accessible for a lot of people that are going to come into the ecosystem. It's just, when you look at it in front of you, it just seems way more approachable. And then of course, the tactile feel, those new buttons are a lot better.
Yeah, when the ATEM Extremes came out, there seemed to be so many buttons, and I didn't see a lot of people pushing a lot of the buttons. I mean, in a particular use case, you need to, but it seems like there were a lot. All right, Adam, do you have a demo for us?
I do have a demo. Let's get started. So here
Excellent.
I'm going to look at my iPad here, and I have Mix Effect that's running. I'm connected to my ATEM 2ME constellation, and I have the multi-view from the constellation output into Mix Effect, so I can actually see my multi-view, and I could actually touch the interface to do cuts and stuff, which I'm not going to do right now. But what Mix Effect does is it's an application for iPads, iPhones, and Macs. Sorry, Windows and Android users, to control all modern models of the ATEM switchers. So I actually have several ATEM switchers here. We actually have the G2 right here. We can connect to that, and we can basically take a look at the G2. I have a mic attached to here, so you can see the audio levels going there, and then we could just control the interface using your fingers, like that. So since this is the G2 is not outputting to my Zoom, you won't see anything. But you have controls for all the audios. You can set macros. You can upload media clips, set your transition, upstream keyers, downstream keyers, modify all the super source, and you can create your own super source looks. So one of the cool things about MixFX is it has a very powerful super source engine. So you can just tap these, and if this was live, this would be changing your program in real time, and you can configure all the outputs, and you can easily move these boxes around to create the super source looks that you want. And hyperdeck, audio routing, bus mapping, which is a new feature in the latest firmware updates. So MixEffect really is a powerful way to control your ATEM switchers in live productions. And I'm happy to answer any questions that you have or show things in the demo. So just give me the word.
Okay, excellent. We're going to continue to roll through our questions now. You can still continue to put them in right till the end of the show. And again, we are about 20 minutes or so, give or take a little bit, from the drawing for the ATEM switcher. Next question.
Thank you for that demo, Adam. That was awesome. I want to see more. Hopefully there's some questions in here where you can pull that back out. It was cool to see what somebody's going to win too, because as you pulled it up, I was like, man, somebody's going to walk away with that. All right, questions coming in from Raj Chandil, and he asks, which ATEM is the best for a first purchase with someone who is new to the ATEM line?
And we're going to start with Aaron Parecki. Aaron?
Sure. So this is, I've been thinking about this one. The ATEM Mini, the original smallest, 4 input, is the cheapest one. And while I would like to recommend the cheapest option, and it's, a solid device, it's actually what I'm using into Zoom right now, the ATEM Mini Pro. I think that you will very quickly outgrow it and that you will find yourself wanting more inputs. So I would recommend saving yourself the first purchase and jumping straight into the next tier. We are in this weird time right now where there is a new class of ATEM Minis, the G2, but it only exists at a pretty high price point. So it's kind of a weird situation to be in because the ATEM Mini Extreme would be my recommendation, except that the G2 is very compelling and has a lot of improvements, but it's way too expensive for a first purchase. So this is that I'm very conflicted about this answer. I guess I would say if you believe there is a mini or a G2 coming, wait for that. Otherwise, the I don't know. I still think the ATEM Mini Extreme is a solid purchase, and it'll go a very long way.
It depends on a bunch of factors and budget, how many inputs you need, all of these things. If you have no experience with the ATEM, the ATEM Mini Pro at what is it, $300, $350, something like that, with all the features that it packs, really gets you into the ecosystem where you could learn the software interface, you could learn how to program Companion and all the things that you would maybe be able to move to a larger system. Although I have to agree with Aaron, the features that you get by jumping to the Extreme or above are worth it for somebody like me who's making money with it. I don't really make money with anything less than an Extreme and super source and all the things that it brings you. That's probably the best value, but if you're just trying to learn it, go with the Pro.
Jeff Francis.
I would also say go with the Pro, but I would go with the Pro ISO because I think that's the very first thing you're going to find that you need is an ISO record that allows you to get all 4 of your channels and all the audio sources and the program all recorded at higher resolution than what you get with just the program record. And if you want to get to 8 channels, I know it's not a product that you can buy, but go to the used market and get an ATEM Mini Extreme Pro ISO original version.
Noah Sargent.
Yeah, definitely thumbs up on the buying gear used, especially if it's your first one, because you could usually get it for 50 or 60% of retail. So that's usually a good deal. So my kind of stick here is that, you know, Blackmagic, like a lot of other companies, has designed their product line so you will step up, right? And you'll buy one and be like, oh man, I'm going to outgrow this and do the next one and the next one, you know. So long story short, great advice across the panel. Buy above your means if you can. Save up if you can. One other thing is HDMI versus SDI seems like a minor difference. It's not. SDI is significantly better if you're setting up multiple times, unplugging, plugging stuff back in. Just go ahead and save yourself the headache and go with SDI.
Chuck Wojak.
Yeah, I'm a little bit different from most people. If you just need to get an output, one single output, almost any of the ATEMs can do what you need to. For me, it's super source and outputs that make the most difference to me in the ATEM infrastructure. And what I mean by that is, for instance, I have a prompter people teleprompter for my talent, and he has 2 SDI input screens on that teleprompter. I can build a companion button for him so that he can change what independently goes to each of the screens. That has been a lifesaver for some of my talent so that they can choose what they're looking at. If they need to check their hair really quick, they have a button where they can put their camera up on the teleprompter to see it. And also when I'm doing large events, having multiple outputs so that I can control what goes there makes a big difference to me. I will say in that respect, as Noah mentioned, the ATEM Extreme ISO SDI gives you 4 outputs. That's one thing I wish they had added one more HDMI output to the G2, but that's for my use case, and not everybody works that way. Most of the people, they just need to go to their encoder or to their final destination.
Adam Zhao.
So my recommendation is that if you have multiple cameras that you want to show on screen at any time, get any ATEM that has super source. So usually a lot of questions that I get in my support is like, how can I get like 4 cameras up and I have an ATEM Mini Pro? And people, there's ways to kind of like hack it to get like 2 cameras, but the only way to do it with the ATEM lineup is with super source. So get an ATEM Mini Extreme ISO like used, or if you have the money, then go for the G2.
Thank you. And I'm going to keep things moving along because we have a boatload of questions. People have cottoned on to the fact that we have an amazing panel of experts right now. So we're getting flooded with questions. So let's go to the next one. Next question.
Got one in from Nick Sarbacker in Madison, Wisconsin, asking, new to live streaming, trying to figure out what the best video switcher for our workflow. The ATEM Mini Extreme G2 is intriguing, But would it make sense if we need to convert SDI to HDMI, have the Sony FR-7 cameras in long-run indoor arenas?
And I'm going to start with Chuck Wojak here. Chuck?
Yeah, always go SDI if you can. I like converting, and Blackmagic makes that easy. Having these bidirectionals, and you can even get a USB brick so you can power multiples of them. Oftentimes, I've set up tables to where I'm converting 2 or 3 Mac Minis and a few laptops. But SDI, if you think that you're going to need it, the FR7s are amazing cameras, and if you're putting them far away, you probably don't want to try and run that HDMI all the way back to you. You're going to want to run SDI. The ATEM Extreme ISO SDI would probably be your best introductory level, but if you can, go to a 2ME, or if you think you need multiple super sources, I know ATEM's program makes it easy to switch between what your super sources are showing, but having 2 super source on the 4ME changes your production completely, because then you have tons of options that you can do quickly. And I've been known in a production to take ATEM's app on a tablet, and if someone wants to share from their phone, be able to create a super source with the phone layout with 3 panelists immediately. You could never do that before unless you had the macro saved. But definitely SDI is the way to go, especially if you're using a professional camera like the FR-7.
Noah Sargent.
Obviously, for these longer runs, you want to avoid HDMI as much as you can. Yes, Chuck's absolutely right. You could convert back at the last mile, the last step to HDMI. I would just go with the extreme ISO in this case. And honestly, if you're at the FR7 level, it means you probably have a decent budget, and you're in arenas, right? So you're at a different production level. You should really be looking at least probably a 2ME. The trade-off there when you get to that caliber is you're doing hyperdex for recording if you're not doing it in camera. And so the ATEM Extreme ISO is amazing for that, because you could do all 8 channels in one device, but it's also the Achilles heel of a production. And so unfortunately for me, I've had more than one production where that one device crashes and everything goes down for your recordings, right? So 100% you need to have backup recordings in your camera. If you go to that higher system, the 2ME, you're going to be using hyperdex across the board. That's actually a little bit safer because you're going to have individual recordings happening there. So yeah, it's a fun production problem to have. But if you're doing runs, one more thing with the FR7, and they're over about 250, 300 feet, you're going to have to do fiber. And you can get a module that will go in the back of the FR7 that you can run fiber from the FR7 to a converter and go back to SDI for your last leg as well.
One other thing I wanted to point out is that in the last couple of years, fiber HDMI cables have become a thing. So it's a HDMI on both ends, but it's fiber in the middle. So it actually solves a lot of the problems of the 20-foot limit of old HDMI cables. And it is a pretty good way to not have to go full switch over to SDI for everything, but you're able to do that 50 or 100-foot run for a couple of cameras or the computer at the end of the hall or whatever. So just want to throw that out there too.
Before we go to the next question, I just want to remind everybody, if you haven't put your entry in for the raffle, the giveaway, I have to be very careful. California has strict laws about this, and we're keeping strictly in compliance with everything. So they're going to toss up on the main feed on YouTube the way to get in, the code that you put in to make sure that you get in on the drawing. And we've got about, maybe another 5 minutes for you to enter if you haven't up to this point. All right, next question.
Tommy Chance in St. Paul, Minnesota, asking, do you think there will ever come a SDI version of this G2 switcher?
Ooh, I don't know who actually knows, but I'm going to start just randomly with Omar Gadan. Omar?
It'd be silly not to. I mean, it took about 2 years for them to come out with the SDI version of the ATEM Mini Extreme. So they're gonna cash in a little bit here, and then probably in a couple of years we'll see something coming. I don't think it'll be any sooner than that. This one took a while to ship too. So,
Aaron Parecki, agree or disagree?
Completely disagree. So,
good. I love debate.
Yeah. So if you take a look at first of all, start with the price of the G2. And then look at the price difference between the HDMI ATEM Minis and the SDI ATEM Minis, and imagine the same or roughly the same price increase from the G2 HDMI to an SDI version. You end up getting pretty close to the current products that are eight or more inputs for SDI that are that table form factor, the ATEM television studio form factor, which actually have a lot of similar features to the ATEM Mini G2. So I think that if they did do a G2 version or an SDI version of the G2, it would just completely be in direct competition with their television studio line, and it wouldn't make any sense. So I don't think we're going to see it.
Chuck Wojak, you want to be the tiebreaker temporarily at least?
Well, I kind of been following both of them, but I really agree with what Aaron is saying. They really made their flagship feature of the G2 to be that Thunderbolt input for overlays and stuff. And on the higher line, I believe that they're thinking that the 2110 is going to fill that gap. So I don't know if they're going to come out with an SDI version of the G2 where in their eyes, maybe the main feature would be the Thunderbolt input and output on that. So I'm not sure. I'm excited to see what happens at NAB this year. I'm going to be watching that very closely, and we'll see what happens.
Noah Sargent, get the last word on it.
I definitely concede Aaron's point about basically a product, chomping off the bit of another part of the product line. But I think at the end of the day, once the ATEM Extreme ISO stops selling as much, they're going to try to introduce that and get some sales back in that area.
Let's go to our next question.
Got Rocket in the Bay Area asking, what are some lesser known ATEM features worth highlighting? SRT support, maybe?
Ooh, we'll have some interesting, hopefully hidden features revealed. Ryan Summerfield, start us off.
There's a few features that I do use actually. So I think SRT on the ATEM Minis, like the ones with the encoders built in, is actually there. Is that true? I get nods, thumbs up.
It is 100%. It's
yeah.
just H.264, yeah.
Yes, so that is there, which is very useful. Getting it coded in is a little bit annoying because they have to do through the XML, but we do have SRT. One feature that I do use almost every time, and this is on the constellations. I think all the constellations, and I think the TV studios. And I did a YouTube video on this. When was this? About a year ago. Is you can reroute any audio you want out of the outputs on the ATEM. So on the constellation, for example, you've got 12, 24 aux outputs. You can send whatever audio you want down any of the channels at any time. Now you can obviously do this in the software. In the top, it says audio, and you can kind of jump in and go, cool, I want to send. It's only allowing you 1 and 2 to be programmed. The rest can be whatever you want. But if you actually go into the XML and use mix effects, which is way easier to do it, you can actually adjust what you want. So what I use it for is that if I'm sending a mix minus feed into Zoom, so I've got my audio mixer going into the constellation via MADI, then I can route that mix minus into Zoom. So then I've got my CamLink or Magewell plugged into the computer. I don't need to do separate audio for the embeds, and that comes straight through. So that's one I use every day, and it is amazing.
I'm going to interrupt for just a second to say we are now closing off. If you haven't put into the chat my ATEM, MYATEM, and you still want to get in, I'm going to give you like 1 minute, then we're going to shut that down because the back end crew has to get everything prepared for the actual drawing. Omar Gadan's next. Omar?
Recommendation of the bus routing of the audio outputs, and his video specifically helped me get it working in my system. So that is super, super powerful. I've got 5 outputs on my ATEM Constellation 2ME going out to my replay machine, and I embed camera audio direct to those outputs, not program audio, has nothing to do with that. And now I'm getting just straight pass through of my camera outputs. I have a Dante to SDI or SDI to Dante embedder. So I'm going to take one, I'm going to route every camera audio to that, and that's going over to my board for all of my excuse me, all of my camera audio ISO as well. So super, super powerful feature.
Chuck Wojak.
Yeah, it seems like we're all on the same page here. The audio routing is huge. And we did similar to what you did, Omar, with a Dante audio embedder de-embedder, and using that plus I think a 80 by 80, we were able to get almost anything anywhere. Or if we had a situation where we had a roaming camera, but we needed a better quality or reliable mic there, we could just slap a microphone on top of the camera and route it back through that signal that it was getting over the Teradek. So it's been super good. I will also say that I love just the ability to have tally using something like a Cerebral Flex Tally or something like that. A lot of people don't use Tally with the ATEMs as much, I don't think. And then also, I just love the ability to use companion or mix effects in such a flexible way. We talked about buttons earlier, and I just want to mention that one of the things I have in my studio, because I do a lot of crazy solo stuff, is I have one of the Elgato foot pedals, and I route the third button to cycle through my inputs. So I can sit there literally tapping my foot, get to the input I want, and then click the middle button and have an auto transition, or the left button and have a cut transition. Frees up my hands to do other things like slowly fade a microphone.
Next thing you do is wire a pipe organ into this, so you've got 32 pedals. Jeff Francis, thoughts?
So I'm going to go to a very, very simple setting that I think is wonderful. If you look at Blackmagic's Pro switchers and even the G2, you notice that the fade to black button has little bumps on the side of it, and it's way over to the side. But if you look at the original ones, they put the fade to black button right next to the auto, the switch. And so if you go into the settings, you will find a place where you can disable the fade to black button, because on those little ATEM minis, the original ones, you're always accidentally hitting that fade to black, which is exactly what you don't want to do in the middle of a show.
We always talk about office hours being an international show. Our next question is coming in from Germany. Next question.
Next one's coming in from Andre Dole in Berlin, and he asks, for those who already had hands on the G2, what's the most exciting feature and what's disappointing?
Thankfully, Adam Tao's in the panel today, and he's got the box in front of him. Adam, what's your opinion?
To Blackmagic tomorrow. It's on loan as I kind of develop Mix Effect to support the device. The build quality on the Extreme G2 is very good. I like there's like 3 aux outputs. There's Thunderbolt, which is actually opens up a whole new set of possibilities when you have like replay with Davinci Resolve or doing key fill. I think there's 2 things that I find kind of infuriating. One is that there's only 10 buttons on the surface. So you can see, the 10 buttons right here, and you can configure them in ATEM setup. So like you have your 8 inputs, say you have 8 cameras coming in, but then you only have 2 other buttons, 9 and 10, to say put one as media player 1, and then maybe 10 be super source. But if you wanted 9 and 10 to be media player 2, you can't do that unless you reconfigure it in ATEM setup. On the other extreme, there are buttons that they're small little like rubbery buttons you can push to kind of assign those. So you really, if you make use of all the features on ATEM, you have to go to software or companion or something like Mix Effect to do. The other thing, and I'll do a quick demo of this, is that there's this new feature in the Mini Extreme where you can have this kind of multi-view of your controls. So you can output one of the outputs to show like this audio interface, but the dials on the Mini Extreme ISO G2 you can use to configure it. So I'm not sure if you can see, but I'm like changing the dials on the bottom. And then if I rotate this, you see that it's changing what the transition is, and like changing the mix rate like this. And then you have those buttons in the middle, which you can use to change what this kind of like multi-view shows. So right now I hit level. So this is all the levels for the cameras, pan controls, EQ, equalizer, the comps, limiters, gates, cam. You can actually modify also the super source things, again, with the dials. So you can turn these dials. If I want to modify box 1 and I change the second dial, and now I'm changing what source it is, and then I can adjust the position like this. So you can make a lot of fine-grained changes to your switcher in real time. However, I'm a fan of direct manipulation, and one of the great things about something like Mix Effect is that I can directly manipulate a box in SuperSource. I don't have to like change a dial and watch it like move. I can use my finger and just move it around. And so in a real show, I wonder how much people will be like fiddling with the dials and using this multi-view out to configure stuff. I like that it's there. I just don't know how practical it is in a real world situation.
Next question.
Next question comes in from Cindy Drozda in Erie, Colorado, asking, what advantages would an ATEM give to someone using vMix?
And who was it that had their hand raised here? Mike Money Slagerl. Mike.
All right. Well, the first and major advantage has to do with the fact that the ATEM is a hardware device and vMix is a software device. And so vMix runs on a computer that can have lots of things go compete for those computer resources. vMix in particular is a resource intensive. So you really want to have a specialty computer and use it like an appliance. The advantage of using a hardware device like an ATEM is it offloads a lot of that processing power into a dedicated device. So I know there'll be some other answers to this question, but really the first thing that comes to mind, having that offloading that to a hardware piece gives more stability and, in my mind, a lot more peace of mind knowing that I've got a hardware device as opposed to a software device.
Omar, your thoughts?
No, that's the answer. It's got a ceiling. It's got a ceiling, so you're not going to break that ceiling. And vMix doesn't have a ceiling, and it's so easy to shoot right past it and blow up your production. Now, it takes a lot more work to do a lot of the fancy things that vMix can do, and I use vMix all over my productions. But having that stability, I know if I have an 8-input mixer, I can put 8 inputs in, and I'm going to be able to mix those 8 inputs. And yeah, some of the mini lines, they're gonna maybe have some issues because they try to do too much. They're kind of but if I have a 2ME switcher, I'm feeling rock solid with that for most applications.
Let's go on to our next question.
Next one's Aaron Cody in St. Louis, Missouri. And Aaron asks, Adam, please tell us about ATEM Bus Mapping features in Mix Effect 2.4.0.
Ooh, it's nice to have Adam here. Adam, dive in.
Let's give a quick demo of that. So here we have my ATEM 2ME Constellation HD, and we have this new bus mapping feature. So what bus mapping is, and other people on the panel can talk more about the uses of bus mapping. I'll show you a quick example. So we have ME1, and we can create these bus maps or followers. So output 6 is currently following ME1 SuperSource 1, and then when SuperSource 1 goes to program, I will not output the SuperSource. I'll actually output color 1 through output 6. And you can create bus maps for any mix effect bus that you have. So the ATEM 2ME has 2 of them, and any of the aux outputs right here. So I can change, let's go to not that program one, let's go to output 5. And you can see a list of all the sources. And right now they're all mapped 1-to-1. But let's say I wanted to, for the SuperSource, when I go to SuperSource on output 5, I want to show something else like color 2. Okay, so here we go, and I'm going to show the map sources. So here we are here. So here's an example. It's working in real time. So we see over here, output 6 is this blue color. That's because I'm on SuperSource on ME1. But if I go over to this input here, which is my iPad, you see that now output 6 is outputting basically what's on program, which happens to be the iPad. But if I switch back to SuperSource, you'll see that instead of showing the SuperSource, it shows that color that I defined. So I will defer to some of the other panelists. I know Ryan posted on the Discord when I asked, what's the use of bus mapping? I don't quite understand it. Maybe he can chime in on how he might use it in a production.
And as soon as we get the answer to this, we're going to the drawing. So be short if you've got something, dive in. No? All right,
yes.
then. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, yeah. I mean, I was just going to answer about some of the features that you could use bus mapping for. It's very useful, say, if you're doing a live event and you're running iMag on the screen, for example. You have your close-up and you have wide shots, and you're cutting between all these cameras. But say you want to cut to a wide shot, but I have on the screen and a close-up. You can have it so that you cut to the wide shot on your bus, but then your ME that's on the side screens could cut to the close-up, so that you can actually see multiple things at once. There's a lot of fun things you can do with it, but it will be very helpful, especially in larger productions with multiple outputs.
Chuck Wojak, you want to do a couple of seconds on it before we dive into the giveaway?
Yeah. Similar to what Ryan just said. So in a studio environment, a lot of times I will do all of my SuperSource box 2 cutting on ME2 for that, because I'll have multiple Zooms connected for a large event. And if we were going to take a question from room 1, 2, 3, or 4, cutting on the ME2 will allow it to just automatically populate that superstores box. However, with bus mapping, now I can say that whenever I have one of those zooms on that box, now put that into my teleprompter so that my talent is now looking at the person they're talking to. That's where I would use bus mapping.
All right, it is time. A lot of you have been waiting for this moment. We are going to give away the ATEM Mini ISO G2 switcher. There is a square in there that we're going to cut to here in just a second. Just as a reminder, you have 2 minutes. If your name ends up picked on this, you have 2 minutes to go into the chat in YouTube and say, I'm the winner. There's a couple of little steps after that to make sure that we've isolated the right person and that there was no chicanery in the back. And then if you don't respond in YouTube, if you're the winner in the first 2 minutes, we're going to be forced to draw somebody else. So not, as I said earlier, not the time to walk the dog. All right, let's cut to it. All right, the countdown has started. You have 2 minutes in the back end. I would imagine Rick is very excited about this. So before you kiss the dog and jump around and spend too much of your energy, make sure in the YouTube chat. Now, I'm not monitoring the YouTube chat, so somebody in the back end is going to have to tell me whether or not Chuck has responded and whether we have a verified winner. At that point, there's a back end process. You're going to end up... There's a back and forth to make sure that it's a single person and it's the person who is listed there, Rick Morrison, and then they're going to tell me we have actually given away the ATEM Mini.
I just saw it go by. It said, I'm the winner. I saw it go by.
I'm the winner. Woo! So somebody has done that, which means it's now in the back end to make sure through a ping back and forth. It's a little bit like two-factor authentication on a very small level to make sure that we're getting the right person and nobody has kind of dipped into the stream. And, you know, we got a lot of very smart people who watch this show and they're very talented and we want to make sure everything's on the up and up. But I'm assuming I'm going to get a cue. And if so, Rick, congratulations. You are now the envy of everybody watching this show. This was about a $2,000 prize. So this was our test to make sure that we could do this successfully. And it appears that we have. I'm still not getting anything in my ear about the fact that
Bill, I know you've done a lot of these at the Los Angeles Final Cut Pro user group, so this is our first one doing one virtually. What do you feel is the difference on these?
It really is. You know, it was such an interesting dynamic. I gave away these huge prizes along with Michael Horton on the stage at the Super Meet for so long. Yes, we've got a confirmation email in there, so it looks like things are confirmed. Congratulations officially. Now, Blackmagic is going to end up drop shifting this directly to you. You'll get email and a contact in the back end, so we need to make sure, obviously, that we have your address and the rest of that done. But yeah, Guy, I have to tell you, it was so much fun. We used to give away $50,000, $60,000 worth of stuff. Often we would have a $10,000 or $15,000 computer, but it took us an hour to get through all that. And we used to say that Mike Horton used to be a genius at saying, if you're really nuts when you come out of the audience and you look like you're really happy, I'm going to throw in extra stuff. So the more crazy people got in that big crowd in Los Angeles.
Speed Truck Challenge DVD for everybody.
Was just so much fun. So if we can get something going where we get the support of people and we can give away something, I just love giving stuff out. It's
We've
just
only
so much
just
fun.
begun. This
begun.
went really well. As long as Rick's happy and everybody's happy, then we are going to ask for more manufacturers to give us more stuff, and let's do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Plus, you still have access to this extraordinary panel of technicians and people who know this really well. So we've got more questions coming in. We're going to go at least, I think, until the bottom of the hour to try to work through some of these questions. I'm going to try to get the pace up a little bit. So try to keep your answers quick and sharp. But let's go to the next question.
Got one in
Before we
from
do,
John.
Chuck, did you have something you want to say?
Well, just before we do it, it looks like Rick actually needs to email us at merch@officehours.global in order to get that ball rolling for the address. So
Oh, okay. Did I miss? Okay, I missed having a cue there. Sorry about that. So email merch@officehours.global. They will confirm you are the person that was picked, and they will get get everything else taken. Thank you. Oh, that's right. I see. There's too many things visually going on here. First time we've ever done it. We'll get smoother as we go. But thank you very much, Chuck, for helping me keep on track here. Let's go to our next question.
John Foltz in Sealands Grove, Pennsylvania, asking, I wish there was a better way to get a webcam such as the Insta 360 link into my ATEM.
Yeah, we've heard that before. Mike, Muddy Schlegel, dive in.
So I also wanted to solve this problem, and I discovered these little devices that are a UVC to HDMI adapter. And essentially it has USB on one side, it's the USB-C ports here, and then HDMI on the other side. Now, one thing to be aware of with a device like this. So first of all, I've used these and I've even installed them in one studio where he had a number of different USB cameras that wanted to get into an ATEM. One thing to be aware of with a device like the Insta 360 Link or some of the OBSBot cameras is that you lose the functionality of being able to control them with the software. Those devices all have powerful software. They thought about this with one potential option. So this USB port here in the middle, this USB-A port, actually allows you to put in the remote control receiver for a device like the OBSBot, one of the OBSBot Mini cameras. And so the most success I've had is using this with an OBSBot Mini that I was able to use the remote with it to get some of that functionality. I'll tell you, ultimately, the solution I came up with, because I wanted the full functionality of having different presets available with the Insta 360 Link, was to an old computer that was retired from regular duty. It just went to be its sole job was to input the camera into OBS, output HDMI full screen, and into the ATEM switcher, so that I was still able to use Companion to have the presets and have that functionality. But if you're looking for a simple solution, this is the best recommendation I have for you.
Aaron Parecki, you had an add-on?
That was a very helpful and constructive answer. Thank you. I'm going to do the complete opposite now, which is to give you the unhelpful musings on this situation that we are currently in, which is that webcams have gotten surprisingly good. And I think up until the last couple of years, it hasn't really made sense to even want to do this. But they're like getting to be on par with the cheaper cameras that you can buy that have HDMI out. And I agree that more devices need to have direct webcam input. And there's only a couple that do. They tend to be devices that are based on Android or Linux. Am I even allowed to say Rodecaster here? But that one can take some webcams in. And I do think more devices should start doing this, because the webcams, the thing about that little box, it's great. It works fine. But like, it's almost as expensive as a lot of the cameras we're talking about, the webcams we're talking about. And it would be a lot nicer to have a way to plug those in directly, because a lot of people are looking for the inexpensive option of just buying $100 or $200 webcam, even if it doesn't have fancy PTZ or it's not a microscope or whatever. And you can get a decent image out of these things now.
Muddy, we're not shy. How much is generally that box that you were showing?
It's $160. And
okay. So if you've got 3 or 4 cameras, you can run into a little bit of a tab if you're trying to go into a switcher that doesn't take HDMI. All right. Next question.
James Fosseline in Minneapolis, Minnesota asks, even with larger switchers, does a simple ATEM Mini Pro have a place on your desk?
Chuck Wojak, start us off there.
Yeah, there's a couple of reasons why I would still have an ATEM Mini Pro if I already had one. And the first reason is for green screen processing. I helped one of the Santas who does virtual live events online to use an ATEM Mini Pro to green screen his setup first and take the output of that ATEM Mini Pro into his ATEM Extreme so that his Superstore box was always processed over the green screen. It was a simple solution for that. The other reason that I've ever had an ATEM Mini Pro in a big production with like an ATEM 4ME constellation is I used it as a still store. Adam actually helped me with that setup where we needed to have a still store for a person who wanted to put something up but then freeze it while they made changes and then just immediately go to the next image. And we used Mix Effects with Companion to set it up so that using Mix Effects accessibility to the ability to clear a still store or a frame in the media player and then rewrite it, we were able to have an operator just sit there and be able to freeze when they needed to and unfreeze. So those are the two cases where I was still glad that I had an ATEM Mini Pro laying around.
Adam Tao, your thoughts?
My main switcher is the ATEM 2ME Constellation, and it's a great switcher, but it doesn't have things that the ATEM Mini Pro has, which are like streaming and recording. So I actually have the output, the program output from my Constellation going into my Mini Pro, and then if I wanted to stream to YouTube, I use the Mini Pro to do the stream or do like a record. I also have hypertext and a web presenter, but you know, sometimes those get a little fiddly and complicated to kind of operate. And the ATEM Mini Pro is just a very small, self-contained thing, fits on the desk. My ATEM Mini Pro is very quiet. I used to have an Extreme on my desk, and that was actually quite loud. The fan just kind of went off. So that's the reason to have that small one on your desk.
Jeff Francis, your thoughts?
Well, one, to be a panelist on office hours. Two, to be a professional, to show up in meetings and have the ability to do drawing on top of your screen or to bring in extra sources without. It's much easier to switch to an iPad or another computer than it is to deal with Zoom's sharing interface, which kind of interrupts everybody else's screen and takes you out of that moment. So for teaching, it's an amazing thing. If you have to teach virtually, having an ATEM Mini Pro, just a small one, you don't need the ISO, you just need 4 inputs and an easy switch.
Ryan Summerfield.
So, I mean, people who know me know that I love the ATEMs and I use them all the time, but on my desk right now is not an ATEM. As much as I love it, I'm actually using OBS for my desk because, quite frankly, as much as I love it, I know. You know. But the fact that I can just sit here,
any solution.
The fact that I can sit here and just squiggle on the screen, and I can bring up my screen so easily without having to plug things in. I just drop my laptop on my desk and thunderbolt into my desk, and it's all good to go. So I do love it, but also one key part of that is that I do record all of my content in 4K, and to do 4K in ATEM land gets rather expensive. So that's one of the reasons. But yes, I don't have one on my desk.
Omar Gadan, your thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's the best place to have it, is on your desk. I have an ATEM Mini. It's not even a Pro. It's the OG ATEM Mini, and that's how I'm bringing myself into this meeting today. I am going into vMix, so I can do fun stuff like bring down myself into an effect like that or bring it back. But I can also switch to other live feeds on my desk. There's my ATEM that's running right now. Here's a multi-view output from that ATEM. So I think it has a great place. I use it in my productions as a sub mixer. So I ran out of inputs on my surf show with the 8 that I have, because I do key and fill that takes up 2, and then a bunch of other cameras. And I use it for less important shots that I might want to go to occasionally, and it gives me an extra four cameras that I can cut to if I want to. So, and I also use the record feature on that, so I can get 12 channels of record on my surf show versus just the 8 from the ATEM SDI Extreme ISO. So I think it has a place.
I always have my ATEM Mini Pro loaded up with just tons of stuff in Keynote. I find Keynote is a great feed. You can quickly get things out into a live stream show, and Keynote has so many nice capabilities for doing simple animations and things like that, that it really adds a little extra production value at almost no extra cost. I mean, I've had this thing running for probably 4 years, so if I amortize that cost over that much time, it's truly negligible. Next question.
Next one in from Chris Widener, Indianapolis, Indiana, asking, can an ATEM be a switchable input on an iPad?
An input on an iPad. I use it as an iPad source into a live stream every single day, but I've never tried to do it as an input. Has anybody tried to use the iPad? Adam, your thoughts?
I'm a little confused by the question, but I think it relates maybe to another question where you can bring in the ATEMs output into the iPad and use the iPad as like a monitor, right? Is that how you read the
Oh, yeah,
question?
yeah. That would make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
USB view in Mix Effect does just that. You plug in a UVC or an HDMI to UVC adapter and plug in your output from your ATEM, and then you can use there's a free program called Orion, and there's several apps on the App Store that just basically output the the output from the HDMI as a a display on a screen on your display, so you can use it as a monitor, and then you can push your buttons on your ATEM to change what the user sees.
Let's go to our next question.
Next one in from Thomas Dining in Spokane, Washington, asking, I have been playing with the Extreme G2 and trying to send key fill via the Thunderbolt connection with software other than Davinci Resolve's replay connection, like OBS or vMix. I haven't tried mimoLive yet, and it's been without success. Has anyone been able to?
We had nobody who's raised a hand on this one before, so I don't think anybody's tried this exact configuration yet. Send key fill out via Thunderbolt connection to software other than Resolve's replay. Omar, you had thought?
Yeah, I haven't tried this, but that would be a disappointment, because that is the flagship feature from this, in my opinion, justifies the cost if you're in the market for one, is that Ultra Studio Thunderbolt output key fill that you can get from there. Try going into desktop video capture and see if it shows up there. I believe it should show up as a Thunderbolt device, but yeah, I hope they get that sorted out. If it's not working, that would be disappointing.
Aaron, do you have a thought here?
Yeah, with the caveat that my experience with this is limited to pushing the buttons at NAB and talking to the folks at the Blackmagic booth. Don't have one in person. My understanding after talking with them is that it behaves exactly like the desktop video card, or the Ultra Studio device, where it essentially has that internally. So it'll work with anything that supports that driver, which I primarily use OBS with that. So I output from OBS into an Ultra Studio 4K, and that's what's showing the graphics on my stream, like the countdown at the beginning and the chat messages and even audio. And this, I think this is like one of the major reasons that you would get the G2 version. It's going to be so useful for that. And my understanding is that it will work with anything that supports the current stack of desktop video hardware, like the Ultra Studio and the output cards.
Okay, we're going into a difficult zone here, right to repair and the rest of that. Next question.
We got Todd Rains in Allen, Texas, asking, has anybody had success in repairing ATEM switchers? I have the original ATEM Mini with a bad USB out port. I use the HDMI out with a capture card / device.
I don't think I've ever tried to crack the top of one of these. I will say that I had on one of my Blackmagic devices a problem, and I actually had a pretty good experience. It was unfixable. They didn't know that, so I sent it into Blackmagic. They actually tried to fix it. They sent it back to me. They thought it was fixed, but it turned out that it wasn't, and without any hassles, they completely refunded all the money. I ended up having to buy a replacement device for it, but at least I had a very good experience with them being responsive, not taking terribly long to do the repair on that Blackmagic 6K camera that I sent in. And we've got a note from Robert Green here, is that everything is confirmed about the winner, so congratulations. Our first giveaway was a success. Omar, you wanted to say something about this? Oh.
Yeah, I was just going to quickly add that this is one of the, if you're outside of the warranty for this class of devices, I think it's pretty difficult to get a repair directly from Blackmagic. I haven't been able to get any of my out of warranty stuff repaired from Blackmagic unless it's of a certain class of device. So it might be time for an upgrade.
I'm not terribly surprised. I remember when I had a lot of things like Sony equipment, you would have a dealer that you'd worked with a lot, and they would kind of help you navigate the process of getting into repair for more expensive equipment. But these things are at a price point that for many people, if you're actually using them in business purposes, they're kind of almost replaceable now, and they're not really consumables, but I'm always really happy when I get more than a few years out of most of the inexpensive things that I buy that are better than I expect in some cases. Next question.
Tyler King, Oswego, New York, asking, are the newer ATEMs able to bring in sources that are in different frame rates or resolutions? I have trouble getting my older one to take in both 59.94 and 60 frames per second, sources like cameras and computers for graphics.
Ryan Summerfield.
Yes, so in the older switches, you're definitely going to have problems with mismatches in frame rates and resolutions. But most of I think basically anything that's black, apart from maybe the original television studio, but any black device will do it. Now, if you've got a device that is a HD device, like an ATEM Mini series, Constellation HD series, all that kind of thing, you can put in any frame rate and resolution up to HD. And if you've got a 4K one, you can go up to 4K. But I think there's a limitation on some of them. So like the Constellation, sorry, on the ATEM Mini, it won't take interlace signals. And there's a few different things there, but for the most part, yes, if you're in the same resolution and you just got a 59 or a 60 mismatch, that shouldn't be a problem.
Aaron Parecki.
Yeah, I don't know if I have anything else to add other than that, actually. But yeah, the distinguishing factor is the black case, with the exception of the original TV studio. The ATEM Minis were really the first ones to do this, of including the frame rate converter in it. But that's been on all of the rack switchers since the ATEM Minis came out. They've just been putting that chip into all the devices. So old at this point is what was the TV Studio HD was like a 2014 or something. So the last 10 years or so of switchers should be good.
We're getting close to the bottom of the hour, so first and foremost, I want to say congratulations to Rick Morrison, the winner of our very first office hours. I don't think the raffle's the right word. Our giveaway. Again, I have to be careful. California requirements that I use the right terminology. But anyway, and thank you all for being here. I'm going to go through the panelists one time and give you a chance to say a last thing if you'd like to pass out any contact information or anything you want to. So I'm going to start because he was just talking with Aaron Parecki. Aaron, anything you want to say before we finish up the show?
Sure. Yeah, I do a live stream every week on Sunday mornings, Pacific time. Feel free to go to my YouTube channel, subscribe, and join live. I do this kind of Q&A format, maybe a little bit less organized. It's usually a little bit more chatty and conversational with the chat going on. We chat about gear. We try to break stuff. We test things. We plug things in until they stop working, and it's a lot of fun. So see you on Sunday, I hope.
Excellent. Moving Chuck Wojak. Chuck, anything you want to say?
No, just thank you for being here. You can find me, best way to find me is on Facebook, or you can look for us in the Blackmagic Design user group, ATEM Mini user group, * new on Facebook.
Moving to Jeff Francis. Jeff.
It's been great being here, and if y'all are fans of classical music, or as the executive director says, everyone loves chamber music, they just don't know, not everybody knows it yet. So go to seattlechambermusic.org and look for the virtual concert hall.
Muddy Slago, you up?
I just want to thank everyone for all the great questions. I've been sitting here trying to figure out how to get a USB camera working with my iPhone ever since that question. So thanks to all the producers.
I will mention after hours in just a moment, but let's go on. The next person in line is Omar Gadon.
They're selling any gear, don't buy it from me. Avoid my listing. It's got tons of sand out there. And I'll leave you guys with a little bit of warning here. And thanks for having me. This is a lot of fun. So I really appreciate
I got to know, have you ever been live casting and a Tide Rogue wave or something comes in and swamps you? That's
the cables just a foot off the ground, and our feet can get wet, but nothing else. And you can check that out at Couch Surfing Show on YouTube if you guys want to catch us live. We're gearing up for our 3rd season here. So
Noah Sargent. Oops, is Noah?
I think he left.
Oh, Noah took off. Okay, that's fine. And Ryan Summerfield.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. It's been a lot of fun. It's been great to be back. If you want to see any of my content, check out my YouTube channel, Ryan Summerfield there. got some random things there. And if you're ever into green screen, I'm now at Social U, and we do green screen stuff and other things like that. So definitely check out their channel as well for more great content in there.
And thank you especially for your demo, Adam Tao.
This was a fantastic panel. If this is your first time looking at Mix Effect and you're interested in it and you have a Mac, iPad, or iPhone, you can check out Mix Effect at mixeffect.app.
Excellent. And for those of you who maybe this is your first exposure to office hours, if you want more information, you go to officehours.global. That's our main entry website. You'll find a lot of information there. One of the things we do that we haven't talked about on the show is the after hours community that kind of formed around the show. Literally, there are people around 24/7 who stay online in the after hours portion of the office hours construct. And one of the great features there is there's always somebody. In fact, there's usually a small group of people, because remember, we're global. So anytime, day or night, people hop into office hours with technical problems and questions. And it's not unusual that you get some highly skilled people to help you work out issues and things like that. So it's just one of the things that we do at officehours.global. Again, we've been doing this every single day for well over 5 years. We're at 2,000, I think 200,000, 100 and something like that daily shows. We haven't missed a day since the beginning of the pandemic, and it's a great community. So please do investigate that if you have a chance to. One of our traditions at Office Hours is we do what's called the clock traversal, and that is to determine how far you would have had to travel to get the answers that you got by watching Office Hours and this show. Today, that number is 25,000 miles. This was episode 2128, and to get access to everybody you heard from today on the panel, you would have had to travel 25,000 miles, 41,000 kilometers, and we love turning into some real numbers. So that is 201 million bananas for scale. You're going to see some credits go by. There's a tremendous number of very talented people in the back end who make this show possible, and more today than usual, because we had people managing the giveaway. We had people taking all sorts of care of us as we come in. None of you saw the process of getting everybody vetted and on the panel. There's a pretty big technical lift, because the people you see on the panel are coming in from literally all over the world often. So thank you so much to that constituency, to the panelists who come in and donate their free time and all their expertise. Thank you all, each and every one of you, very much. To the producers, that's what we call you, the people who put the questions in the show, because you really do drive the show with both the questions you put in and your votes on the questions that determines our run of show and what we get to first. And finally, that tech crew in the back who are just amazing. Watch the credits as you go by. You'll see some people who make this all possible. We'll be back next Tuesday with our Tuesday show, but there's shows every single day of the week. You can catch them again on officehours.global. Thanks for watching. See you next time.
Hey. Nice
You guys did
work.